It's the home of golf, a magnificent place that maps out the history of the game over its unique terrain. This week, the Open Championship returns to St. Andrews, and on this edition of Academy Live, we explore some of the great shots from Opens past and show you how you can hit them. How should you handle a putt like Costantino Rocca? How can you get out of fescue or deep rough like Tiger Woods? Have a tough bunker shot at your home course? It's probably not as tough as the one David Duval faced in 2000. We've dispatched Jai Kim to St. Andrews to help you learn how to hit the shots the pros will face this week. It's Jack's final go-round at the Open, and we will look at how his swing has changed over the years. The golf world has gathered in Scotland, and we will take you there for an Open preview right now on Academy Live. Welcome to Academy Live. I'm your host, Kelly Tillman. It is a pleasure to be joined by a master instructor with the Kohler Company, Jai Kim. Good to see you back, Jai.
Good to see you, Kelly.
It's been just less than a year, two majors for you in one stretch.
That's right.
Good to see you. And how is this a major, you ask? Well, the Kohler Company is now the owner of the Old Course Hotel at St. Andrews, and they acquired the Duke's Course as a result of that. So tell us about this new relationship.
Well, I tell you, Kelly, to be associated with the company that owns two of the best golf destinations in the world, it's just fantastic. So
We're referring to, of course,
privileged.
Duke's Course and Whistling Straits,
Yes.
the site of last year's PGA Championship with that dramatic finish. How are these two courses similar, Whistling Straits and the Old Course at St. Andrews?
Well, you know, they're actually the Duke's Course is a Parkland golf course, and so it's actually more of the American-style golf, and Whistling Straits obviously is a straight link style. So there's similarity between them. The Duke's Course is in the home of where the link-style golf course is, but it's a Parkland golf course.
Well, of course, your expertise comes in very handy this week because we will be focusing on the Old Course and the site of this year's British Open. Everybody is so excited, and there's a lot of anticipation around this event because of what happened there in the year 2000. Tiger's dominating performance. I'm sure you had one on that competition all week as you were probably giving lessons out on the tee in your spare time. But you had a chance to go over there and shoot some tips for us. What kind of shape is it in right now? What does it look like?
It's just fantastic. It's you know, when I went there, it was just it's been all roped off a little bit, and the golf course is off limits. But the condition-wise is just perfect, and just be on the holy ground of golf is just it's overwhelming for us.
Outside of the obvious visual differences, the colors, the textures, the types of grasses, and the creativity, what are the biggest differences that you notice between golf at the Old Course and golf here in the States?
In the States is manicured, and over there is just it just looks much more natural. So everything is when you first go out there and you think, wow, this isn't quite in the greatest shape, but that's just the way the Old Course is, and that's you have to almost fall in love with that, or you just kind of get a little bit of the appeal.
Definitely, you almost become one with the terrain out there.
Yes.
Oh, and chance for you to reenact some of the shots that we saw in the year 2000. How challenging was it? Because you play a lot of your golf stateside.
Well, they're very tough shots, and obviously when you go out there and hit the fescue shots, I mean, you just can't imagine how tough these shots are and how great these players are to play out of these conditions.
If you want to see a shot look tough, look no further than Tiger at number 17.
That's right.
Out of the deep fescue, we'll roll that shot in, and as we take a look at how he's struggling with this, just how hard is it, Jai?
Well, that fescue right there is just, you know, it's literally, you can't get the club on it, and it's very deep. And for Tiger to hit that shot, there's only a few in the world that could probably pull that shot off, and Tiger did it in that condition.
Well, I think that absolutely screams for the question, how did you do with that shot? Let's take a look at Jai Kim executing from the deep fescue at St. Andrews.
I'm on a 17th hole. Behind me is the green. Standing here, I'm in the fairway, but it doesn't take much to go from this intermediate rough and into this tall fescue grass here. This is trouble. Now I'm stuck with a situation. There are only about a handful of players in the world that can actually execute this shot and get the ball out and reach the green. For most of us, we have to follow these tips to get us back into play. I'm about 180 yards, and instead of me taking about a 5 or 6 iron to reach the green, I'm going to take a high lofted club such as a pitching wedge. This will allow us, with a lot of loft, hitting into it with a leading edge, cutting through the grass easier. Then, take your stance and make sure your sternum is in front of the golf ball or right on top of it. Take the club, open it slightly, and then grip it, because out of the heavy rough, the club will close on you. Grip it tighter than usual. Then from there, stand with your weight leaning slightly forward, or slightly, for me, on the left-hand side. And from that point, I want to now swing aggressively, but put it back into play. And here's how we're going to do it. I pick a spot where I want my ball to land. Take the stance. My ball position is now, my sternum's in front of the golf ball. I'm going to open the club face, then grip it, get myself organized. Then from here, I'm going to lean slightly forward into my left side. And I'm going to swing aggressively, hit down on the golf ball, and hold tighter than usual. That shot there will get us out of the fescue and onto your next shot.
Jai, that was very well done, but for anyone who has the very fortunate opportunity to go over and face a shot like this and play this beautiful golf course, what kind of expectation can they have on advancing the ball pretty far?
Well, you know, if you take the right club, Kelly, and you approach it correctly with expectation of just getting back into play, I think that's I think it's fair enough to say that it's okay to play that shot. Okay. I think one of the things that I see a lot of people do is trying to play a heroic shot and trying to get it on the green. And so a lot of this high fescue stuff, you just want to get back in play, and it is easier shot if you take the right club.
Well, if Tiger Woods is in that handful of players that are the only ones that can handle that shot, I think we get just an idea of how difficult it is. Before we head off the break, we had you on the show before, and your philosophy on golf is beautiful and simple. It's called the circle of golf. Just briefly remind the viewers of what you talk about.
Absolutely. One of the things, Kelly, that I really like to see all players do, and we see this in tour players a lot, it's just making sure that the center of the body and the arms and club are working together in the swing. I think where we see a lot of the high handicappers get in trouble is when they don't do that. Actually, the body stops and the arms kind of chase the ball after. So the key thing is just making sure that the body is staying connected and staying in relatively in a position where you're more centered, and that's the key thing. And
we saw that with that shot from the deep fescue. If you lose any connectivity there, you're in big trouble.
Absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
And that is called the circle of golf. That's what you call it.
Yes.
Let the coin the phrase. All right, we have much to cover with Jai Kim as the evening progresses. So many shots. Remember David Duval in the bunker in 2000? We will get to that tip. Also, Jai tries to recreate Costantino Rocco's magical moment in 1995 from the Valley of Sin. Also, Jai shows you how to hit a unique shot on the old course, one you will probably never face on any other golf course in the world, only at St. Andrews. As we head to break, another tip from Jai on the bump and run. Stay with us.
I'm here in hole number 14 near the green side, about 30 to 40 yards away from the hole. Now, there are a couple of options to choose from here, and a lot of the players will opt to putt or even, in fact, chip with their utility club. Now, keeping the ball lowest to the ground as long as possible, that's going to be their key. And some of the things that you have to remember when you're doing this is maybe a 3 tip for you to remember. Your weight position, it has to be leaned forward onto your left side or the forward foot. The club has to lean forward a little bit where the butt end of the golf club is in front of the club face. Ball position is in center or center back, or back of your center is good position to play. And then from there, get a little bit closer to the ball, choking up on the golf club, and leaning the shaft upward. That'll help you to create a better straight back and straight through stroke. I even sometimes go to the fact of using a putting grip, because what I'm doing here is using a stroke. So from this position, I go straight back and straight through, having a little bit of a downward hit to the ball, and I'm going to show you a shot with this club. Lean my weight forward, put my sternum or the ball back behind my center, lean the shaft forward and get a little closer to the ball to create more of a pendulum, straight back and straight through. Now I'm going to show you a shot with a putter. Same thing. If you're putting off of this stuff and trying to hit it far distance, get a little wider in stance. Play the ball slightly back in your stance. And then from here, with your hands leaning a little bit forward of the club, do the same as you did with that utility club and hit down on the ball, get the ball popping up, get it started, and let it roll to the hole. Now we gave you two options, chip with a utility club or putt. I chose the one that, for most players, putting would be the option that I would choose. Your worst putt is always better than your worst chip. So try that tip, and if you can get on the link style course, and if you have this situation, you'll find some success with that shot.
Welcome back to Academy Live with Jai Kim. It's time for our admin staff. Get prepared to play better golf. Let's go to St. Andrews.
Old Course Hotel. Look at those words, because that's the words that the players will be facing on the 17th hole at the Old Course at St. Andrews. Basically, the aim point is the lettering course, and right at the letter O. And the tip here is a blind shot. This is where the hole begins, with a blind shot. And to execute this shot, you have to get behind the golf ball and pick an intermediate target in front of you, about 3 to 5 feet on the surface. From there, walk into the ball, aim the club face first, square that up to your intermediate target, then take your stance, squaring up to that club face. Then take a couple of waggles, stay balanced, and trust where you're lined up to, and then hit the shot. Notice one thing that I didn't do is to look up at my target. I trusted my alignment, I trusted the intermediate target, and now I went ahead and fired. And that's one of the things that you can use as a tip when you're hitting a blind shot next time you play.
Well done, Jai.
Thank you.
What a beautiful day you scored out there, too.
We really did, Kelly. It was probably, as the local says, 2 of the best days that they're ever going to have.
It's a lot of trust out on a golf course, link style, isn't it? It's all about trust. Just
absolutely.
Investing in the shot and then kind of setting it free.
Right, and just let things happen.
Yeah, excellent. Well, as far as what you can control out there, let's address a few things. We'll start with trajectory. You know, we always hear Tiger Woods talking about how he's working on his stinger.
Sure.
The low riser
right.
For the British Open.
Right.
Let's talk about trajectory. What's the first thing we need to know?
Well, Kelly, one of the things that I always talk about and learning to hit the low shot, the stinger shot, it's very important to take a golf club when you're trying to hit the ball low. Take an extra club, because you don't really want to take too big a swing or too hard of a swing. And you want to choke down on the golf club a little bit to stiffen that club, whichever you're hitting, and getting in a position where your ball is slightly back in your stance and leaning that club just slightly forward. And I think key thing is a lot of the knockdown shots are best played when you actually lean slightly forward. And that'll give you a little bit more of what I call just a downward hit and stay more down on that shot. So from this position, taking a right club, stiffening the shaft, and then from there, when you lean a little bit forward, you really can't take that big a swing. So you're actually taking about a 3/4 swing, and then allowing yourself to keep that swing low throughout the shot versus trying to stay back and hang back and trying to hit the ball high. And so the key thing is just to do a couple things where you take an extra club, put the ball behind your stance, lean the weight forward, and making 3/4 swing and not swinging very hard, because when you're playing against the wind, the harder you hit it, the higher the ball climbs.
What is the tendency with people trying to hit these punch shots or knockdown shots or stingers, as Tiger likes to call them? Do they get a little too quick and choppy, or do they overswing too much? What is the tendency?
Yeah, I think a lot of times what they're trying to do is they do get choppy. They actually try to hit down and they basically stop. And so what happens from that position, their body stops to stop swinging, and their arms continues up. And what happens in that position when you do that, you almost get this little chicken wing, and it adds a little bit of a loft into the golf club. And if you're really trying to keep the ball low and trying to sting it down there, the key thing is to rotate the lower body into the shot to where about the halfway point in your swing, you want the belt buckle and your center to face that target.
At setup, where is the butt of the shaft in relation to the belly button versus
Sure.
the end of the shot? Let's talk about that, because this is all a part of your circle of golf.
Absolutely.
Okay.
To control the flight a little bit, you want the handle to be slightly forward.
Okay.
And then from this position, as you rotate through, the club will release in front of you.
Okay.
And so that's the key thing. You want to start it where the handle of the club is in front of your stomach to keep that trajectory low, but the key thing is as you turn through the ball, that it comes and matches your stomach at a halfway point.
And there are many different situations where you can apply this knockdown shot, not just in the wind. Sometimes, especially on league-style golf, when you want to play a shot, there could be not a breath of wind in the air, but you want to hit it low and you want to run it up to the green.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How many other options would there be out there? Are those pretty much the two big scenarios, into the wind and trying to keep it low and run it up?
You know, I think you can also play with the wind.
Okay.
Sometimes, you know, one of the things that I know tour players do is they keep the ball lower even with the wind, because a lot of times when you ride the wind, you're never exactly sure how far that's going to ride. So it's almost a knockdown shot's really good to controlling distance of any wind condition.
And you can do it not only with the irons. What about on the tee box when you're hitting driver? A lot of people don't understand that you can control this driver a little more than you think. It doesn't control you all the time.
Absolutely. You can hit that shot as well. You just play it slightly back. And also on a foreswing, you want to abbreviate that follow through a little bit, especially hitting the driver.
And if you're teeing the ball up, what would you do with the tee as opposed to how you'd normally tee it if you're trying to keep it lower?
You can probably tee it up just a little bit lower. The key thing is not to hit the ground when you're doing this, trying to take a divot with the driver. So you can tee the ball a little lower, but the key thing in trying to keep the ball low, you still are trying to sweep that ball. Because a lot of the tendency to high handicappers is that when the tee goes low, they start digging into the ground.
Well, I also wanted to ask you, when you're controlling your trajectory, you're really just, obviously that's the height of the shot.
Yes.
If you're trying to shape a shot as well, how important is it to be one with the angle of your club face?
Well, you know, the key thing about shaping a golf ball right to left or left to right or draw or fade, the key thing is to basically use your same swing that you normally make, but monitor the shape of the swing by taking the club and closing it a little bit for a draw and then gripping it. Because a lot of times what will happen is people are trying to use two different swings to shape the ball. Use your one swing, take the club, and just turn it a little bit. That's the way Nicklaus used to shape it. If he had to go right to left, basically he would aim his body towards the right side where you want the ball to start, and then he would actually close it a little bit and then grip it. Then when he set up to it, the club faces were actually just pointing right at where he wanted the ball to land, but his body was pointing right where he wanted the ball to start. Then when you swing, the ball shapes it right to left. And it's vice versa with left to right.
Right, okay, so one of the secrets to Nicklaus's swing, you've touched on a little bit of it right there, and when Academy Live continues, we will continue to pay tribute to the Golden Bear, who has made it known to everyone this will be his last Open Championship. How fitting that it comes at the home of golf. When we come back, Jai Kim will discuss the differences in Nicklaus's swing of old to the current day swing. Stay with us, everybody, much more to come.
Just can hold it.
Welcome back to Academy Live. Memories of Jack Nicklaus at the 1970 Open Championship. The putt heard round the world in that particular situation, although we'll best remember what happened to Doug Sanders. That was a chilling moment in golf, to say the least. I'm here with Jai Kim, and this video just rings throughout our minds, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What a great time.
This venue and Jack Nicklaus go hand in hand. Very fitting that he would say goodbye to the Open Championship in this arena. It will be tough to see him go, but also a nice walk down memory lane. We want to do that with you right now. How much has the Golden Bear's swing changed from the 70s to the modern day swing we have now?
Well, you know, actually, every time I look at Jack's swing, it just resembles his old swing when he was playing his best. It just, you know, maybe a little lack of flexibility since time is gone. But when we look at his swing here, I tell you, it resembles the old, the great Jack. And that right elbow, when that club goes back, and the triangle that he maintained, that's something he always talked about, trying to keep that triangle in front of him, and also to get that right elbow on top of the left. You can just see that right elbow just gets on top, and that's what we talked about, a flying elbow.
I'll tell you what, they look a lot alike, Jai. You were definitely not kidding when you said that.
They're very similar. You know, the only thing that you would see in different is that, you know, Jack doesn't go quite as far back as he would back in those days, but when you look at the shape of that swing and the backswing and how it was initiated, it's almost identical.
1978 on the left versus 2005, and the Memorial on the right. Obviously, the flexibility not as good as it was back in the day, but what do you think about the finish positions?
They just look identical to each other.
It's amazing how well-maintained this golf swing is. Is it because
Absolutely.
it was so simple, or because it was something that he just had complete ownership of?
I think that's kind of the both, and I think that was what he was taught by Jack Grout, and I remember that's one of the things that we all did as growing up, trying to mimic Jack Nicklaus, is that trying to keep the right elbow long, trying to keep the triangle of the golf swing where you take the golf club back and trying to keep this long, let's say if the forearms and the club forms that are wide, you try to keep that angle as long as you can, and at that point, that right elbow, kind of for Jack, it flung out, so we call it the flying right elbow.
Give us an idea of what parts of his golf swing helped him play a course like St. Andrews so well.
Well, you know, I think one of the key thing was that he stayed so quiet through the shot, and when you watch Jack swing, he kept his head very quiet, and he actually just rotated on what we call a one axis. And so now the more modern golf swing you see, we're trying to come off that ball and try to go to the right and move to your left. What Jack always thought and did was he actually was always trying to keep his head very still and try to stay on that one axis. And when you do that, you can repeat back to the ball much more consistent.
Not a lot of head motion at all in that. I mean, what are we talking? Just a couple of inches back and forth. We see a lot more in other players, maybe like a Curtis Strange or somebody like that.
Absolutely.
I mean, how much are we talking? Just a couple
of
inches?
I would say, you know, looking at Jack's, I've studied some of Jack's old swings, and it looks as almost maybe not more than even an inch. Wow. And he just stayed very still. And in fact, when you saw his swing, he actually cocked his left or his head just a little bit to the left where his dominant eye was, and when you saw him take that club back, he actually looked as though he leaned forward a little bit, which kept his head very quiet, but never having a reverse pivot, but it was just very much more in one axis.
What are maybe some drills that viewers at home could practice just to get a feel for what that's like?
Well, one of the things that you can do around the house is basically one of the great drills that I grew up using a lot is basically putting your head up against the wall or just kind of keeping in that position and taking a backswing and trying to maintain that turn while keeping that head in that position. A lot of times when you move your head, it would come off that wall, and then you would hit back into it.
Right.
You know, so one of the drills that we did constantly is just put our head quietly on that against the wall and take a backswing and see if you can keep it on there. And what that'll really do is maintain a lot of coil into your right side as well. So.
And the weight will stay on the instep of that right foot as you're taking it back if you're a right-handed golfer.
Absolutely. That helps a lot with the sway as well.
All right. Well, we have much more to cover as Academy Live continues with Jai Kim. Of course, he partners at two different places now with his new relationship with St. Andrews. He's there occasionally, not as much as he'd like probably, but it gets across the pond. And also Whistling Straits, site of last year's PGA Championship. Viewer involvement is thoroughly encouraged and welcomed on this show. We have an internet question on the way. We will help you properly release the club head on pitch shots. Stay with us, everybody. On our way to break, two ways to look at a classic Golden Bear move, 1978 versus 2005. The more things change, the more they stay the same. With Jack Nicklaus, we'll be right back.
That's Two Ways to Look at It, presented by Vitorian.
The Golf Channel Viewers Cup Championships was a tremendous success last year, and we had a great time meeting so many of our viewers.
Now it's time to sign up for this year's event, which will again be held at historic Pinehurst just weeks after it hosts the U.S. Open.
You'll go head-to-head with players of all skill levels on the fairways of Pinehurst, the site of this year's U.S. Open. You'll play on Pinehurst courses number 4 and 8 and the world-renowned number 2, the very course at which Payne Stewart celebrated his stirring win at the 1999 U.S. Open. Enjoy 3 nights at Pinehurst Resort, 4 rounds of golf, including world-renowned Pinehurst number 2, big break skills challenges, exclusive dinners and parties, amazing gifts, and much more. And the winner will appear on the Golf Channel Academy Live.
It's the ultimate event for a Golf Channel fan. And playing at the site of the U.S. Open is any golfer's dream.
Call now to make sure you're a part of it. Welcome back to Academy Live. From one major venue to another, we focus on the old course at St. Andrews. Right now, we take an internet question from Dennis Rabideau in St. Anne, Illinois. Paul Azinger said most amateurs don't release the club head on pitch shots around the green. What does that mean? If I flip the club head, I usually get bad results like a line drive, a sculpt shot, or a visit to Fat City El Chunque. Help, please. Thank you, Dennis. We have Jai Kim here to give you some tips. El Chunque? Yeah, can't relate to that. But.
Well, you know, one of the things that causes, let's go back to what Paul Azinger said, actually, in reference to releasing the golf club. I think a lot of the high handicappers, and I see them all the time on the lesson tee, is that when they're trying to release the golf club, they're thinking flipping that club head is release. And what it is that all it is just a flip. And what happens is that you actually are not rotating your body. And one of the things that the tour players do, and what Azinger was talking about, is when you're releasing the club, you want to release the center of your body as well. And actually, when you finish your swing, you want to feel as though that the butt end of the golf club is in line with your stomach. So that when it's moving, it's not just flipping the club this way. And when you do that, the bottom of your arc is actually to the right-hand side of your body. That's where he's hitting a fat shot. Or by the time it gets to the golf ball, his club is bottoming out since his body stopped, and is actually causing a skull shot when he hits it. So key thing is to making sure that when you're trying to release it, Dennis, is to make sure that your club and body is moving together. And so when you do this shot right here to keep this position where the butt end is actually moving together, then you're going to go ahead and bottom out more in front of the golf ball.
What's your club face doing in that finished position as well? Is it toe up, facing the sky? Do you have a little slightly fanned open?
It is. Actually, you know, toe is up a little bit, but what happens is, here's a couple of checkpoints. When you do rotate and keep this club moving together with the body, when you come back, the toe is slightly up, but when you come back here, the face is still square. You're not trying to keep too much lean forward, or you're not trying to flip the head, hands, or the head of the golf club in front of your hands. You're just trying to keep this club relatively in a simple position and make sure you move through. And you can hit this shot this way to the post impact. Then when you come back, see what your hand position did. And what you really want to do is make sure you go to the finish with your stomach, or more so with your center.
So, I mean, literally, it's a complete departure from what people are trying to do.
Absolutely.
They want to help the club up or the ball up with their hands.
Right.
You're trying to almost completely take them out of the shot. Is that the case?
You know, completely take them out. There's a little bit of a play in there, but the key thing is to make sure that you're not just solely trying to do it with your hands. And if you do, your body stops. And one of the most important way to release a golf club, Kelly, is you have to release it together. In fact, your body has to turn through, and when you keep this relationship, you're releasing it without a flip.
Well, let's continue to focus solely on our viewers in this segment. We'll talk more old course in just a bit. It's time for our Oppenheimer Funds coaching tips, and we've reached into our video vault, come up with a couple lessons. We'll start with Jim Pollock, and you actually want to compare this man to Tiger Woods. Compliment.
That's right.
Why is the case?
Well, one of the things that I see Jim doing is basically on his backswing, he gets a little what we call too flat on the backswing. His left arm at the top is not in the same angle which you saw the shaft plane in. And when you do that, what happens is the body tends to come up a little bit. You lose your spine angle. And on the downswing, what will happen is you'll come over to compensate for that, to try to make contact. And then from there, you know, you're kind of in random if you're going to hit in the center or not. So.
Yeah, that circle has now become just literally scratches all over the board. Exactly. So how do we simplify this? What can we help Jim with? What kind of drill?
Absolutely. For him, I would constantly remind that when you take the club back, is to take the club position. And here's a drill you can do. You can actually hold your right hand on top of your left, and when you take the club back, push it up a little bit. And when you push that arm up, it'll take you away from being really flat. And so what the feeling would be is that he's trying to get a little more steep. But in efforts, when you do get a little bit more up with your arms on the downswing, you will be able to drop it in a little bit more into the inside of your slide.
This seems like a really dramatic change in his swing. It's going to take a long time, I would imagine, to really get comfortable with that move.
It will take some time. I would always say that take a lot of practice swing. Just try to do it away from the golf ball. Just try to get your muscle to get a little pattern in there. And then go up to the golf ball and see what your practice has done. And just
a lot of
trust
air
and
swings.
see it. Absolutely.
A lot of air swings. Okay, well, let's keep this party going. We'll focus now on Steve Smith, and we're going to let him go solo. No Tiger Woods comparisons here. Okay.
Well, one of the things I see Steve do here is that he's got a very good swing. His setup seems to be a little bit left, his shoulder especially. He's got his feet Hips are pretty good, but is actually got his, you can almost see here his left arm, you can see the left arm underneath his right. So what happens with him, he takes it back pretty good. Because his left shoulder or his shoulder is aiming left, he'll come over it. And so it looks to me like he'll fight two different shots, which is a little bit of a pull occasionally, or he'll fight that more of a slice or a fade.
So we're looking at basically a static setup change here, it sounds like.
That's right.
Okay, so that sounds like something pretty easy for him to work on. What are we
Absolutely.
talking?
Well, one of the key things that I would actually try to do here is basically, instead of just trying to go aiming right, put your left hand down first, and then from there just drop your right shoulder to reach for that club, versus taking both hands in a club and just setting your shoulders down. Set the left hand first, let your right shoulder drop, and then you can actually get a lot better shoulder alignment that way.
So as you turn this way, and no, the other way here, Jai, and facing me more, if you get a front-on view and a down-the-line view of this move, give us an idea of what that setup looks like ideally.
Ideally, it just looks from this position, you're reaching down and that right shoulder kind of dips a little bit.
Okay.
What I see there was just too straight.
Yeah.
And the angle was a little bit, what I call just a little left, but also very straight up and down. And so what you want to feel is that the right shoulder drops a little bit, and when you do that, your head actually goes a little bit to the right.
So there it is, the front-on view. You're actually almost in a reversed position with the body bowed slightly rear.
Absolutely.
I like
that'll
that.
help you to get more inside your plane.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go, Jim, and there you go, Steve. Thank you for participating with our Oppenheimer Funds coaching tips. We have much more to come. As Academy Live continues, we will get back to our focus on the old course. We all remember what happened to David Duvall in the bunker in the year 2000. It was an absolute nightmare for one of the world's best players. He was definitely holding court on the center stage in the world ranking at this point. Look what it can do to a man. We will talk about that shot and how you can handle it when we come back. Academy Live continues. We encourage you to log on to thegolfchannel.com and use our Golf Channel Game Tracker Pro. Stephen McGuire, a 26 handicap, is doing pretty well in all of these departments, although there's always room for improvement in this crazy game. How's he doing in sand saves? 25% of the time getting up and down. But what if he was in the road hole bunker at St. Andrews? Jai Kim tackles that topic. We all remember what happened to David Duvall in 2000. Let's first take it on from a good lie.
We're at the road hole bunker, hole number 17 at the old course at St. Andrews. This is one of the most famous holes in the major championship history. I'm going to demonstrate here with a good lie how to get above this high lip. First, when you get in the bunker, position the ball off of your, let's say in front of your sternum, at least a couple of inches. Take your stance, dig your feet in. Open the club face, then grip it. Slightly open stance, lean your weight forward. Then from there, with a loose, long follow through, finish the swing. And let me see if I can execute this shot for you. First, ball position in front of your sternum. Dig your feet in, open the club face, then grip it. Lean your weight slightly forward, and with a long, loose swing, finish all the way to the finish. And with this tip, you too can get out of the road hole bunker.
You make it look very easy, but I know that shot can be very intimidating. How much of the road hole bunker is mental versus physical when it comes to challenge?
You know, part mental, but it's very all physical, I believe. Unless you have your ball right in the center of the bunker, it's very tough to get out. So you have to almost take your medicine if you're in the wrong position.
I'm sure it's rare to have a good lie in the road hole bunker. Not necessarily talking about the ball sitting up. That could be the case, but you may not have a follow through. You could end up in a very difficult position. So
right.
We put you to the task, the chore of trying to tackle a tough lie. Let's take a look and see what happened.
I'm back here in the road hole bunker. This time, I have a terrible lie. I have to find out what my options are in this situation. You will see this shot in the championship. Most of the pin placements will be positioned over this lip. And what are my options? My goal is to get this bunker shot out of here and minimize the damage in this road hole bunker. Can I go straight to the side? And I can't go over this lip because it's too close. And remember, in the year 2000, David Duvall is struggling with this shot. So I'm going to get creative and take this 6-iron, and I'm going to bank this shot off the lip and try to get this ball somewhere out of the bunker or in a bunker position where I can get the ball out, not close to the lip. So I'm going to position this golf ball in the back of my stance, choke down on the club, dig my feet into the ground, into the sand, and catch ball first, and then play it off this bank and get the ball out. Take that shot, use your creative imagination, and get the ball out. That's your first objective. Now you have the next shot into the green, and you can minimize the damage and finish the hole.
The road hole bunker is like a labyrinth. I mean, literally, you are just executing around a maze. What's the chance you can pull that shot off? It's not 9 times out of 10. It's maybe, what, 2, 3, 4?
Possibly.
You really just have to take your medicine in there, don't you?
You really do. I would say it's one of the toughest shots to try to pull off, and because there's a huge obstacle, which is a big lip.
All right, and well, I mean, when you tell me it's mostly physical, there's definitely a mental side of it that you just have to let go and trust.
That's right.
All right, well, let's keep talking about the short game and around the greens at St. Andrews. Once you get on the greens, you know, it's a completely different feel than you would have here back in the States. You were around the putting greens there just when you were shooting these tips. It was a whole different look, wasn't it?
It was a different look. You have to almost identify, is that a green or not? And it was just amazing. And you can putt from anywhere on that golf course.
Well, and we put you to the test of putting from just about anywhere. Let's see what Jai Kim did with the long putts at the Old Course.
I'm here at one of the 7 double greens here at the Old Course St. Andrews. Behind me is hole number 2. In front of me is hole number 16. One of the toughest challenges about a long putt is trying to create feel, and also learning how long the putt is. I'm going to explain to you some of the things that I see in high handicappers versus what I see in tour players or better players. I always see the high handicappers getting behind the golf ball, evaluating their putt, even on long putts, going down and even to a point where they're plumb bobbing. Here's what I see in professional players when they're evaluating long putts. They always go to the side. They walk to the side to feel or to see how long this putt is from the side. There's 2 things that this going to the side of the ball does for you. First, you can evaluate the distance. Second, you can see the contour of the green a lot easier. And for example, if I actually asked you how long this shaft is, looking at the barrel end, you probably have a hard time guessing. But if I turn it to the side, then you can certainly see the distance. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Looking back from where the ball is, behind the ball, that's basically what you're doing, just looking down the barrel end. And for me, evaluating from the side gives me a good feel of distance. Then I walk back to the ball, and then looking at the contour, now I understand how long it is and what kind of breaks that I'm going to have to play. Then I get behind the golf ball, pick my line. And then I walk into the putt, and I take a couple of practice strokes. And one of the things that you've always seen when you watch Tiger Woods or when you watch golf on TV, you see the best players in the world, when they're faced with long putts, stroking with their right hand only. The right hand is a feel hand. That's a great way to acquire a feel. Take a couple of practice strokes. Next time you're faced with a long putt, stroke it with the right hand only, and then add your left hand on and dominate the feel with the right hand. Then stand over the ball, focus on distance, and strike your putt. Try those tips. Learn to evaluate, put into your routine, evaluating from the side, and that will help you to judge your long distance putts much better.
Jai, all those tips are so handy. I'm just curious, before you set out on your journey across this links golf course, what can you do on the putting green in your warm-up routine to best prepare yourself for what you might face out there?
Absolutely. The first thing I would do, Kelly, is to take maybe 3 or 4 golf balls and go to the edge of the green from one edge to the other. Take a couple practice strokes without really having an aim point, and maybe go out there and just hit some putts with your right hand only, even Even in fact, just try to get the feel for the speed of the green. I think that's the key thing. When you go out and prepare for your round of golf, try to get some feel into some distance, because obviously distance is very important. And then add both hands on it, and then just try to go from one green to the other or one side to the other, going back and forth without a flag. And just try to see if you can hit the edges and just almost trickle that ball right at the edge and see if you can create some feel. And then the next thing you would do is go to maybe about a 2 or 3 footer where you could really feel confident where you can make this and hit a few putts and see it go in the dead center of the hole and hear it and also see it and just gain some confidence on the short putts. And I don't think you should spend too much time where you're hitting putts where you miss, practice swinging and missing it and all that stuff. And I think if you do those two things, you create feel and then you build confidence with the short putts.
Well, no more indelible memory that St. Andrews when it comes to long putts than Costantino Rocca.
That's right.
In 1995, and you had an opportunity to take that putt when you shot those tips. So as we head to break on Academy Live, let's enjoy that moment with Jai Kim. There is much more to come. Stay with us.
I'm here at the famous 18th hole at the old course of St. Andrews, here at the Valley of Sin. This putt here was made famous by Costantino Rocca when he flubbed his pitch and was left with this putt to go on a playoff with John Daly. Take a look at this putt. Look how difficult this putt can be. It has a severe hill, almost about a 45-degree angle or more to get over, and straight uphill towards the hole. It breaks a little right to left. You have to first learn to control distance, and from there, you have to understand how to approach this putt and hit past the hole. And here's some of the tips for you to understand. To hit this putt correctly, take a wider stance than usual. Here's my normal stance, and here's a wider stance. Stand a little taller than usual. Then from there, let your arms swing freely and finish towards the hole. And let me show you. To hit this putt, I'm going to widen my stance to create leverage, to get the distance, to go past the hill, stand taller, then from there, swing freely and all the way to the hole. A little short, but you too can use this tip if you're faced with an uphill putt and a long distance.
On Tuesday, only on the Golf Channel, we have special programming coming your way dedicated purely to the Open Championship. We begin at news conferences at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Hear from your favorite players on how the course is shaping up and how their game is prepared for this Open Championship at St. Andrews. At 7 p.m., it's Golf Central with an encore at 11:30 and a couple of R&A specials coming your way in prime time, as well as Open Championship highlights from 1995 and John Daly. Stay with us, everyone. It's been a wonderful hour with Jai Kim, and we still have more to come. But if you'd like to work with him, please contact him at the Kohler Golf Academy, 920-803-3013 in the summer. Any winters, right here in Florida, 321-206-8041. There's his internet address, both locations. Stay with us. We'll wrap things up with Jai. He hits a unique shot, one that you'll probably never face anywhere else in the world except at St. Andrews. Stay with us. Welcome back to Academy Live. It's time for an off-the-wall edition of UPS Game Solutions.
I'm here at the road hole. It has the famous bunker, it has the famous road, and it has the famous wall. Now my ball is situated right up against the wall. I have no backswing in this situation. I could try, but I'm going to catch the wall on my backswing. Now, you may see this situation, and you may see players banking this shot off the wall. How do you do it? Take your grip the normal way that you would. I've got a 7-iron here. Play the ball position back in your stance and lean a little bit forward into the ball. Position your hands forward. Then from here, just go ahead. Because of the wall, you want to hit and hold and build some resistance in that left wrist. Make sure you're catching ball first. Now you may see this opportunity arise in the Open Championship, and you may see the players taking this opportunity to hit that shot.
What a fitting way to end the show. A unique shot at St. Andrews. It's been a wonderful hour with you, Jai. We look forward to a big week. Jai Kim, thanks for watching, everybody.